Now, I have been looking for a new Dreadnought to fly. Right now, I am mostly leaning towards the Naglifer, but I might go and start flying the Phoenix. I mean, the Phoenix used to be, I would say, one of the most hated Dreadnoughts, although that has been changed since the release of the high-angle weapons. The high-angle weapons made this ship extremely lethal, and at the same time I have to say it made the Phoenix a lot more fun to fly. Now, the main issue with the normal capital missile launchers is the fact that you are not able to hit anything. Only, like, it will be effective only against big ships like Dreadnoughts, carriers, super carriers, and structures. But again, the high-angle weapons have significantly changed that, and now Phoenix alongside the Moros are the two most lethal Dreadnoughts with high-angle turrets, or in this case, high-angle missile launchers. Although kind of weird name for the missile launchers on the ship. But recently, we have received the new skills. They have changed some of the mechanics, how Dreadnoughts work. They have changed how Siege Mode works. Basically, the change was made because of the Phoenix to put everything in a better balance, and I'm very curious to see how this ship will perform. Now, we also have received the new skills a while ago, and well, let me quickly go and view those relevant skills for this ship. Now, this ship is using missiles, and the missiles have definitely been significantly improved. The new skills are fantastic. They improve the speed, the explosion velocity, the flight time. They improve the damage. They improve all aspects of the missiles. And here I have all the relevant skills basically maxed out. So that's going to be the type of skill that I'll be using for this ship. Now, I know you guys are waiting for me to go and fly Super Capitals. Well, Super Capitals are not yet available on the test server, but the second they are available, oh man, I'll be flying the Super Capitals, and I'll be doing a fitting guide for those ships as well. So stay tuned, it will happen very soon. They just have to update the server. The second they do that, well, you will see a Super Capital video. Now, let's take a look at... Oh, my apologies, I forgot one important thing. Now, the stats of the Phoenix haven't been changed. It is still the same good old ship that we all know and love. The Phoenix has a bonus on shield resistance, which means that this thing is, you know, quite the tanky thing. 4% per skill level, so a total of 20% if you have the skill on level 5. You also get some capital missile torpedo damage bonus, which, you know, will be affecting the barreled and normal missile launchers. Now, this is the build that I prefer. This is the build I basically use on most of my high-angle weapon Dreadnoughts. Republic Fleet Barreled Capital Missile Launcher, or Missile Torpedo Launcher. That's kind of a funny name. So, flight velocity 5.8 km per second, activation time 38.93 seconds, explosion velocity 98.64, radius 256 meters, flight time 10.83 seconds, missile range 63.63 kilometers. In the medium slots I have one web and quad scramblers. However, since this thing is using missiles, you can use target painters if you like. Since you will not be suffering from any, let's say, tracking issues on missiles, you can slap target painters, and you can also slap a capital neutralizer. After all, you have to remember that capital neutralizers and overall all neutralizers have been buffed, and their effect has been significantly improved against a variety of ships. So on the capital ships you can easily slap a capital neutralizer or two and target painters with webs and a scrambler, and you have a pretty lethal ship here. Now, in the low slots, I prefer to have something like this: dual boosters, dual missile guided computers, batteries, and dual adaptives. Now, this is, I would say, my ideal build for a high-angle weapon Dreadnought, because you don't want to sacrifice too much of the tank, but at the same time you don't want to sacrifice too much of the capacitor, and at the same time you don't want to sacrifice too much of the DPS. Now, the most important aspect of missiles isn't the paper DPS, it is the missile damage application. So in order to improve that, I have dual hook missile guidance computers, and they, depending on the implant that I use, can significantly improve the explosion velocity or explosion radius. Again, will be perfect to be used with the warhead charge implant and the tactical missile implant. Now, as for the rigs, this is the only capital ship that has integrations that I currently have here. Now, missiles and drones do benefit from integrations because you can combine a variety of effects in one and basically get the best possible stats on the missiles. Same thing can be applied to drones. The other weapon systems don't really work that way, but the missiles and drones can take advantage of integrations. It is a bit expensive, I agree, but it does get the job done, and you get some very scary stats out of this thing, especially now with the new skills and with the new patch. And of course, you don't have to use integrations. You can just go and swap the normal rigs, 3 activation rigs, or a combination of rigs. We have a lot of rigs to choose from, and classic past rigs in the engineering rig slots. That's basically what I run on most capitals. Now on to the implant. This is where things get interesting. Now, since this thing is using missiles, the ideal implant would definitely be the warhead charge. Now, I love the warhead charge implant. It's such a fun to use implant, and honestly, that gets the job done. There's no complaints about that one. Now, as for the units, I'll be using a unit for extra. Let's see. Now, I don't use ballistic controls, but you can if you like that type of build. You have range correction and missile guidance precision correction. Now, I think range is not a problem, but missile application, if you want to yeet small ships quickly, you want that extra application, and I will take this one. And now let's take a look at the application of the missiles. Should be, improved a little bit. Okay, there we go. 224 meter, 108 meter per second. Okay, let's undock and let me show you the active stats on this ship. Again, should be very interesting because this thing is vastly improved. It's not the same Phoenix that it used to be. So I'm very excited to see the performance of this monster. Alright, let me just quickly adjust the module since the game never remembers what I said, so I don't know why, that's just how it goes, unfortunately. Alright, that goes there, goes here, this goes there, and we have something that looks, generally speaking, non-OCD triggering. I have to make sure that the modules are in a very nice, well, up in a very nice way. Right, Siege has been engaged, and now let's take a look at the DPS. 7018.96 DPS. This also improves the rate of fire. Now 7.79 seconds. This does shoot quite quickly. Flight time 8.8 km per second, and we see. Let's take a look at the explosive missiles. This is the DPS mode now. 8773.70 DPS. All right, perfect. Will be applied with thermal missiles as well, and let's go with the long range mode. With the long range mode, you reduce the DPS a bit, but now 100 kilometer range. Yeah, this is nasty. This is some nasty stuff here. And with the precision mode, you get also a little bit less DPS, but the application will be improved. 108 meters per second, explosion is 112 meters. Well, this is perfect. Quite happy with that result there, and 77.9 kilometer is the range. Now we have 2 computers with 1 computer active. The DPS, the explosion is 54.25, and with the second one active, the DPS is 30.29 and explosion velocity 184 meter per second. This has enough alpha damage to pop a interceptor to pop a frigate, tackle frigate, and if you plan to tackle a Phoenix, and if they're using a build like this, my advice is just don't tackle it with a frigate. You need a heavy tackle, because this thing is going to yeet your ship in one hit. This is some nasty damage application. Honestly, quite terrifying. 184 meter per second is the explosion velocity and the radius. Honestly, some very, very scary stuff. This thing, so far, is looking really good. And it does seem to be
docking request accepted.
Improved a lot since I used this thing last time. Now with the same build, you also can use the tactical missile implant. Now tactical missile implant will give you more DPS, will give you more paper DPS, but it does have some drawbacks, and it also has some interesting traits on how the ship behaves, because you will point the target, but you also be giving points to your own ship. So if you're using this, there's probably no warping away. And I'll use the precision unit, because application is definitely a lot more important over range, since it already has some pretty good range. And let's undock, and let's take a look at the DPS that this monster can dish out.
Undocking.
Now I'll show you some other builds with the other modules, but I personally like this build. But you can go full DPS if you like, but I'm not really recommending to do that because of pirates, and it's, you know, kind of easy to lose a ship like that. Now I forgot to mention the shield to resistance 65, 75, 79, 83. You know, it is actually fairly tanky, since don't forget you also get that extra resistance from the skills, so the Phoenix will definitely feel quite tanky even with a high angle build. With the high angle weapons, you sacrifice a lot of the tank. And when I click on the primary skill on the implant, we have 930. I forgot siege mode. Whoops. DPS is 9300 with the secondary attribute active, 11,305.15 DPS, and you know, here we can look at the stats. It does improve the missiles, but at the same time it does reduce some things, so you win some, you lose some. That's basically how it goes with this implant. And you also have the missile, the computer, and the computer can help you at reducing the negative effects of the implant. And here we can take a look at the explosion velocity and explosion radius. Again, really solid, really good, and I'm honestly very happy with the current result of the Phoenix. This thing is honestly quite impressive, I must say. Definitely a very interesting boat that I might legitimately consider flying. I haven't really decided yet, since I have that unique situation, as you guys all know, and I have to be flying something ridiculously tanky, something that's, you know, as I like to call, nearly immortal, or in some cases basically immortal, but nothing is immortal in EVE. Every ship dies eventually, given enough DPS, given enough damage. So that's my current situation that I'm at here. But honestly, been a very fun ride so far. Now when I dock, I will show you some of the other builds that you can technically use on this ship, and then we will be eating this ship in in some missions to see how quickly it will clear the anomaly. Now I will mostly use this ship for PvP, not for PvE, but you can use capitals in PvE if you have the safe pocket in let's say nullsec. That's basically where the ships should be used, but you also have to be extremely careful not to get caught, not to get tackled. Now, instead of the adaptives, you can easily slap some ballistic controls if you like. The ballistic controls will basically improve the DPS, but you will sacrifice even more tank. So you honestly do have a lot of options to choose from. You can go with multiple of the missile guidance computers. You can add even more tank if you like. I mean, you all honestly have like a lot of different options. So you can add the ballistic controls, you can add all the other relevant modules that you think that will be beneficial for the ship. In my case, I usually go with this build. I find this build to be optimal, and honestly I do like it a lot. Now, since I'll be doing a PvE mission, you can do the build with dual painters, also a quite interesting idea. However, one painter I think will be more than enough, since you want to, if something tackles you eventually, if something gets close to you, webs can actually help you to improve your damage application, since you will be slowing down your target. So neutral ladders and webs, definitely a fantastic choice for defense against any pirate ship that might decide to tackle you. And in the right hands, with the right skills and with the right tactics, it is ridiculously difficult to tackle a Phoenix without having losses. However, you have to be careful not to get caught in the siege mode cooldown, because if you get caught in the siege mode cooldown, then, well, then it is going to be a very, very rough day for the Phoenix. And well, with that being said, let's undock and let's run some missions. The laboratory missions became, I would say, my favorite. Hold a second, I forgot to add the proper implants. 1 second. Yeah, I had tactical missiles. Let's go with warhead charge. The warhead charge again is the perfect. Doesn't have to be level 45, honestly. Like level 15 is pretty good. And if you really like the ship, level 30, level 45 is overkill. Don't go to 45. It's most likely not going to be that, you know, you will not notice that much
Destination reached.
difference. Okay, let's go to that mission. Now, as I mentioned before, the laboratory missions became literally became one of my favorite missions in the game. I run them quite often with the Cyan carrier, and when that carrier becomes available on the test server, I will be doing a in-depth review. I also did say the same thing about the other cruisers, so that is also planned. So you will definitely see a bunch of other builds besides the ones that I already did, because that's what I like to do. I like to give you guys as many builds as possible, so that I can help as many players as possible. Alright, well, this chunk is warping. Honestly, I found the Phoenix so far to be an awesome ship. A very, very awesome ship, to be honest. Surprisingly, good chance that I will fly one, actually. But we will see what will happen. Depending on when the faction Dreadnoughts get when the faction does get released to the game. I forgot to speak for a second, my apologies. Alright, siege mode up, and let's start yeeting the ships. Now, I'll go directly into the explosive mode, and you can use the precision mode if you like, but I think this thing should have enough of that DPS, enough of that alpha damage. Yeah, there we go. It just slaps everything in one hit. So I can just keep the explosive missiles, and I can just keep on blasting these ships. It's going to kill them one by one in one hit, which is kind of funny. Although I have to say, it does feel like they have reduced the cycle time. The Monos does shoot fast. Now, the main difference that you will notice between all of these ships, between all of these dreadnoughts, is the way how the turrets feel in combat. Now, the Revelation does feel good, and does feel like it has better tracking than the Naglfar, but the Revelation it has its issues. It's not a perfect ship, of course. The Naglfar has that phenomenal tank, but at the same time, sometimes it does feel like it is lacking a bit of that DPS. although it has the barrage, so it is capable of delivering a lot of very nasty short burst damage to the target. The Moros has the best DPS and best tracking, and the Phoenix has the best alpha. Now they have changed the formula on how the weapon damage works. However, I see that the Phoenix remains about the same. So there's a good chance that they just took the formula from the Phoenix and just added it to the other Dreadnoughts, which, you know, again has a balancing effect, because the Phoenix, as other players said, didn't feel as potent as the other capitals, but the Phoenix's main thing was the fact that it was part of the capital fleet. When I say capital fleet, it is being used as a anti-capital ship. Basically, you would have a fleet of Phoenix Dreadnoughts, and you would sign onto a specific target, and then you would just kill the target in one single hit. Which honestly is a pretty interesting tactic, and honestly a very, I would say, good idea. Although this thing just goes in. This thing wrecks. The Phoenix does have that nasty alpha, as you can see. And the combination of the engineering rigs, the combination of the integration rigs in the combat slots definitely do have an effect on the overall outcome of the DPS. Well, I'm doing about 46,000 alpha damage to a battleship, and it still pops a smaller ship, like, let's say, a destroyer. And the same effect can also be felt in PvP. Now, if I go and if I do buy the Phoenix, I'm most likely going to use a high angle build on it, because that's the way how you go with the Phoenix if you plan to use it for PvP. Since I'm not in a big alliance or coalition where we have like anti-capital fleets every day, I will most likely use this ship in the standard way that I usually do. That I usually use the Revelation. However, the difference is that the big missiles are not going to be able to apply any damage, so I have to use the high angle missile launchers, like it or not, which I'm okay with. Honestly, pretty fine with that so far. They do seem to be doing enough damage on smaller targets, which is basically what I'm looking for. That's my goal. But we will see. If I ever join a big fleet, let's say coalition, then I might have a Yeet Dreadnought or a carrier, you know, for the classic Yeet. But I'm not really sure if that will be for me, because I don't really like huge fleets like that. But we will see what I will do. Nothing serious happening. Just thinking if I ever decide to change the playstyle a bit, and if I decide to go and do something a little bit different, then I might do something similar to that. But we will see. There is still a lot of things that I have to consider here. Now, my apologies if I sound a bit distracted. I'm just looking at something in the background. I missed a Adrestia kill, unfortunately. Okay, well that's some bad luck there, but happens. Usually when I record, every time I sit to record a video, something juicy like that pops in, and yeah, it's just my luck. That's like that. Nothing to worry about. I just miss kills left and right, which is kind of funny since I have made a couple of PvP videos quite successfully, but at the same time, I also missed a bunch of ships. Now, the one thing that I noticed so far with the Phoenix is the fact that the missile launcher seems to be firing a little bit slower. Now, I'm not really sure if I like that. Definitely, if you have that safe pocket in your null-sec region, I think you can go with a bit more DPS with the ballistic controls. But I don't know. I would still be on the lookout for blue tackles. Blue tackle plus Sino is a real threat, so I don't know. But I noticed a higher output in the alpha damage, which honestly I'm pretty fine with. So you have more alpha but slower rate of fire, but the DPS will be higher. And honestly, so far flying this thing has been quite amusing. It is still a capital, still a Dreadnought, still has fantastic shield booster capabilities. 36,000 every cycle, which is honestly pretty good, judging by the fact that this thing has 673,000 hit points in the shield. And that's a lot of hit points, honestly. That's a lot of hit points on this big boat. $41,000. It kills a battleship in 2 hits, which is actually quite impressive, not gonna lie. And that was a 51,000 hit. That was a nasty impact.
We're under attack.
Now this is a bit more difficult.
We're under attack.
Laboratory mission. It is the 6 million ISK one, and they are known to be a bit more difficult. They do bring a bit more ships, which means it might be a bit more exciting to do them. Although a lot of players like to do them with the Cyan carrier. In high sec you can literally run the Cyan carrier, although the mission isn't as rewarding as the low sec and null sec one, but it is still a laboratory mission and it does give a pretty good reward. I mean, a carrier in high sec, I don't know how to feel about that, but you know, it is quite relaxing to fly one, and I can kind of understand why they did make them, why they added them. That's, you know, kind of, when you think about it, you can understand why they added those ships in high sec. Now the current price of the Cyan carrier, let's take a look at that. Recently, this morning actually, the price on that thing went up significantly. There are 55 and 49 billion on the market. Yeah, the price, it's happening. It is happening. The Cyan carrier's price is going up. Alright, lovely. That's going to be fun. What does that mean, you ask? Well, it means that those who have the ship, who bought it for cheap, will be able to sell it for a ridiculous expensive price. So yeah, the Cyan carrier will be very, very expensive. After all, it is a faction carrier, so you can expect the price to be very high. What is this lag? My apologies for the potato frames, for the potato FPS here. Not really sure. Oh, I know what's happening. My tablet is complaining about being warm. Well, it is summer, so throttling is happening from time to time. Oh well, it happens. Not a big deal. But the most important thing is that this is running quite smoothly so far, and I have absolutely no issues with clearing this. Does seem to be good. Now, again, I will be a bit fast in clearing it, but you know, I already have the the build on, the tank build on, so I just keep what I already have, and I cycle the missile gunners computers, and that seems to be slapping hard the target there. There we go. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the barreled missile launchers are extremely expensive. Now the synth carrier that we killed had 3 of them, 2 dropped, and we made a lot of ISK from that ship. Now the Republic, which one I have actually? Let me double check. I have the Republic fleet. Alright, let's take a look at their price. Well, they're not available on the market, but the Caldari Navy cost 720 million APs. Yeah, they are quite expensive. And these modules are really expensive, just because of how lethal they actually are, and just how effective they can be on the Phoenix. Can you imagine the Kaiman, the faction Dreadnought, the faction Phoenix, how much powerful that thing will be? I mean, I already talked about the faction Dreadnoughts, and there is no leak. Well, I don't leak stuff, but I know that they'll be added in the game at one point. I just don't know when. But currently, you know, there is no leak. I don't leak stuff, so I have no idea when they will be released. But my goal is to get a Chemosh, and that will be basically my end goal capital. Once I get the Chemosh, then I will probably look for some other ships to fly. But the Chemosh is basically my goal. And honestly, I do like that thing. It is very nice to look at, the Chemosh. It's a very pretty Dreadnought. I say very pretty, well, all Dreadnoughts are pretty, but the Chemosh is a bit special. It's a Blood Raider, so the camouflage on that thing looks awesome. Although the Kaiman also looks interesting, and since we are on the topic of faction Dreadnoughts, I wonder what they will do with the Angel Dreadnought, since there is no Angel Dreadnought hull in Evil Line, but you know, they already made some completely new ships, so I'm fairly sure that they will also create a faction Angel Dreadnought that will look like Naglfar. And honestly, kind of excited to see how that thing will look, and also interested about its name. Will they call it Archangel? That's gonna be a lovely name. We will see. There is a lot of names that they can choose from, but the faction Dreadnoughts are most likely coming after the release of Titans. That's what I would say. I might be wrong. I might be right, but that's what I personally expect to occur, to happen. But again, we will see. I might be wrong, I might be right. I'm still waiting for the... Well, they did say that they'll add some special edition frigates and destroyers, although not limited to special edition. They just said special, so it could be something like the Freki, let's say, and at the same time it also could be something like the Coafe Catalysts, which you can look up on the Eve wiki, and that is honestly a very fun ship to look at. I'm fairly sure that thing would be very popular and liked if they ever add one to the game. I'll definitely be flying one for the lols and giggles. Freki is also a very interesting frigate based on the Rifter. I do like the Rifter hull a lot, and if I get my hands on a Freki, I'll be flying that thing. Will be very fun to fly one, I can guarantee you that. Now I will let my shield get some damage before I start to boost. I want to see how quickly will this thing boost itself. Now, besides the new skills for the weapons, they also added the new skills for the ship themselves. Basically, increased the armor, increased the shield, increased the hull, the plate stuff, the shield extender stuff. All that has been added, and you can come up with some very nasty builds for these machines. Now I know that the plates and extenders are mostly used on ships like, let's say, the versatile assault carriers, but in some cases you can add a plate or two or an extender or two on the Dreadnought, but I personally don't see much point in doing that. In some cases it actually is a good idea, but I usually prefer the classic active tank build, which raises the question: what type of, let's say, what type of skill bonuses can we expect from the faction Dreadnoughts? Are they going to be, I don't know, similar to the versatiles of to the faction carriers, or are they going to be something different, or are they going to be basically, you know, just classic capital ships, just classic Dreadnoughts with a pricier tag? That is the question that I'm curious about, because if the faction carriers have the bonus on plates, then the faction Dreadnoughts might also get something along those lines, which is kind of interesting, because then I'll be able to create a really tanky capital ship. But at the same time, you will have Titans, and since a faction Dreadnought will be a lot more expensive than a faction Titan, than a Titan, I expect Titan hot drops on these ships. So would it be worth to fly these faction Dreadnoughts? That's the question. I don't know. I wouldn't say that it is worth, but I might be wrong. And with time, we will find that out. Honestly, quite exciting next couple months ahead of us, because we might get some unexpected ships. I already talked about this, but they already did make the most skills and stuff like that for Yang Yun, and they might release that alongside Dreadnoughts as a surprise. It's just pure speculation, but it's possible. I mean, they have released so much stuff unexpectedly that I'm just expecting to see Yang Yun released in one single month alongside the Titans. And who knows, perhaps the Titans might even be postponed. There's a lot of things that can happen until then, but we will see. We will see, since the test server is still not up to date. I assume that they are working on that right now. They're working on Titans, they're working on other new stuff, so I'll be patient, since I really do want to try out the super capitals. I want to show you guys how they work and how they perform, because I believe that a lot of you are interested to see those ships in action. Of course, you are also interested to see them explode, and I'll be more than happy to blow them up for your viewing pleasure. Because that's what I do. That's my duty as content creator here. I have to show you guys everything the game has to offer here. Alright, well, let's finish this one more rat, and then I think there is one more wave to clear, which I'll clear quite quickly, I believe, and then I will dock with this ship. So far, I do like how the Phoenix is performing. Honestly, quite a interesting ship to fly.
Enemy ships detected.
And 5 out of 5.
We're under attack.
That's 38 ships. That's a lot of ships.
We're
I'll
under
focus down on the
attack.
battlecruiser first. Yeah, this is definitely the more serious one. There's a lot of ships here. But I will do my best to clear them as quickly as possible. And so far it seems to be working really well. I mean, this thing just pops anything that I launch this missile at. Although my frames also drop. 5 scrummers, 6 dampeners, 5 Nosferatus, 4 webs. Well, not a big deal at the moment, although I have to say that's a lot of angry ships that are shooting at me. The tank is holding incredibly well, very tanky. I mean, I say very tanky, not very tanky in terms of, you know, Dreadnought tank. These things can be a lot more tanky, but you know, fairly tanky for a PvE ship. I actually like it. Does get the job done quite easily without a problem. Okay, 30 ships left. I'm actually doing this fairly fast. Would be a bit faster if I had a bit more DPS, but you know, that's just how I roll the ship. I prefer safety over raw DPS, and I usually say this, but a good tank is going to win over high DPS. A proper good tank, to be more accurate here. And most of my ships are tank builds with, you know, a couple PvP ships that I have as a DPS build, but with those ships I have to be careful what I engage, because in some cases the target that we shoot is tanky, and especially with those new Navy issue ships that I call Marauders, because that's what they literally are. They are Marauders. They can be extremely tanky. They are one of the they can easily withstand glass DPS with a proper build. I mean, 30 seconds damage control time on top of those ridiculously high resistances on shield and armor just makes them perfect for withstanding a lot of DPS. And you can expand on the build. I will show you a lot of different builds on these ships when they are available on the test server. My shield is at 65%. I think let's just boost it up quickly. Well, it does boost fairly fast. I mean, no unit. Actually, I do have one unit for the shield booster, but no rigs, and basically relies purely and entirely on the performance of the siege mode. The siege mode does give you some very nice tanking stats and bonuses, which, you know, are very important for a Dreadnought, and capacitor batteries as well. The capacitor batteries are fantastic for this job. "16 ships left." We are clearing this fairly quickly now. And the ship is stationary. Okay, I have to say the Moros did feel like clearing it faster, although I believe it wasn't the same mission. This is the more serious one. With the Moros I was doing the 5 million ISK one. This is the 6 million, I think. Let me double check that. Rescue large experimental field. Yes, it is the 6 million ISK laboratory mission, which explains why it does feel a bit more difficult, because it actually is a bit more difficult. Okay, align to the station so that when I turn off the siege mode, the ship automatically starts to go, so that I don't waste much time when I turn off the siege mode. Well, so far, I'm pretty happy with how the ship works. The alpha damage is definitely spot on. The rate of fire can definitely be improved a little bit. I really feel like they have nerfed the rate of fire on the Phoenix, but it shouldn't be much of a... It shouldn't be much of a big problem. It just makes the ship feel a little bit sluggish, but on the grand scale of things, it honestly is not a big problem. It does get the job done fairly quickly. Now here I'm just looking at some market prices. So a Phoenix costs 20 billion right now. Okay. Well, if I do get one, I don't know. Still a very tough decision. When I pick a ship, I usually try to not make a mistake while picking the ship. Although I'm not really sure that I can make a mistake with the Phoenix, since this thing is already... I already know how it works, I already know how it performs, so I know what to expect from it. But I also do have the barrage implant, which does work really well on the Naglifar. So if I want to take advantage of the barrage implant, then I will probably have to fly the Naglifar, but if I want to try out something new, then the Phoenix is definitely the way to go. I mean, the Phoenix can be a very tanky shield tank capital. It performs basically like the Revelation, just on shield, which is interesting by itself, honestly. But I don't know, still haven't really decided on what I will do. I'm actually going to ask you guys, which one of these ships should I get? Phoenix or the Naglifar? I can fly both, I have skills for both. But which one would you like to see more? The Naglifar or the Phoenix? I'm fine with both, honestly. I don't know, I can't decide between these two ships because both are really good. Both are very good, actually, to be honest here. And let's just kill the last ship, and then it will be time to dock up. So, how did the Phoenix perform here? Well, the Phoenix definitely performed really well. I would say definitely above expectations, because of the way how they changed missiles and all the other things, all the other modules and weapons. I actually expected that the Moros will get the best, the best performance, but as of now, the Phoenix is actually, when I think about it, quite close to the Moros in performance. Although the Moros does get better tracking, although the Phoenix does get enormous alpha damage. So I guess both are fantastic in their own way. Alright, well, that was a very nice little run with the Phoenix. If you guys would like to see more, feel free to like and subscribe, it does help out a lot. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.